Welcome back to the Xennial Rewind, the place where millennials and Gen X get together for all our pop culture needs. And I'm your host, Retrogamer Gen X, and our other host, Moby and Leland.
All right, as usual, we'll start it off with Moby's monologue, and today it's kind of going to be a theme of the show here. You'll see as we go through, but I really wanted to rant about video game remakes, and the problem is just remakes of video games are starting to saturate the market so much. And at first, it was kind of like a cutesy novelty. I'm like, yeah, okay, these games from like the mid '90s you can upgrade them. They've got the polygons, they look very dated and stuff like that. And so at first I was okay with this for many years, but it really was a specific game that started to make me concerned, which was the Resident Evil 4 remake. Because at that time, that obviously the first Resident Evil 4, even though it came out 21 years ago, right now, 2005, I believe it was, that was a GameCube release. And in my opinion, that game still totally held up and didn't need to be remade. So that was the first time where I kind of went, this might be a cash grab. And then ever since, these video game remakes have started to explode. And I've got some numbers here. Now I will preface this. I had to use the help of AI to try to collaborate this together. AI does have hallucinations. It may have made mistakes, but I think when you hear the couple numbers that I have, even if there's mistakes, there's a pretty wide margin of error here. 2024, by the count that I've got, there were 4 video game remakes released. There was Persona 3 Reload, the Silent Hill 2 remakes, something called Empire of the Ants, and Dragon Quest 3. Now, fast forward only 2 years to 2026 right now. And I guess I got to give a minor disclaimer that these remakes are planned for release in 2026. But by the count I've got, it's 14. So we go from 4 to 14 in a period of 2 years. We've got another Dragon Quest 7. We've got Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly remake, which, by the way, is a great game that I love, but it's PS2 and it's beautiful. That game does not need to be remade. There's a huge list here, guys. Obviously, it's 14, but you've got stuff like Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. Now, I know Ubisoft's got some issues. I think that one might be put on the back burner, if not canceled, by the point that this show releases, but it was planned. And again, that is, a GameCube, PS2, Xbox release. It looked fine, and we can go down the list here. We've got Virtual Boy remakes or re-releases coming out on Nintendo Online. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff here that I've got listed, and to me, it just makes me think that these companies, these video game manufacturers, they're a combination now of lazy because you've got the core product, you just need to remake it. And the second part about this is they are risk averse. They don't want to go out there with new creative ideas, new fresh games. It's just a lot easier for them to go back to their old intellectual property, remake it, remaster it, slap on some skins. There's a remake I'm playing now. I think it's from 2025, and that's why it was not on my original list. It's called Front Mission 3, one of my favorite PlayStation 1 games. And I got to be honest, it's good. I'm enjoying it. But really all they've done is just got a lot of AI textures and AI, figures, characters, and they've just slapped that all together and they throw it out there for like $30 and are like, here, there you go. You got yourself a remake. And I know a lot of fans have really backlashed against that game in particular. Again, that was one of my favorites growing up. But I just hate the direction that the industry is moving here to more remakes, AI slopped remakes, remasters with just the slightest bit of effort put in. To me, it's a problem. And this is just not a huge monologue for me. I'm about to throw it out to you guys, but it's it's starting to get annoying to me, like really annoying at the point of me doing this monologue here in, almost February of 2026. So, RGX, maybe I'll throw this back at you. The first, you've been gaming the longest of us three. What are your thoughts on these remakes and remasters?
Yeah, man. Definitely been gaming for quite a while, man. So, um honestly, there's been some good remakes out there. So, one of the ones that I can say that I really enjoyed was and we've talked about this before on the show is Sid Meier's Pirates. Back in the day I used to play it on the Commodore 64, but it got re-released later on way different systems. So like for instance, it got re-released as Pirates Gold on the Amiga. That was basically the first time it was re-released, and I mean, it had some extra things in there. The graphics were a little bit better, but it wasn't much of a change. But then we get on to like the Xbox, and they re-released Pirates on the Xbox. And my God, it was so cool to see just the updated graphics and how things were. And it was basically still the same game. It hadn't changed from back in the 80s. And I really enjoyed playing that. But then you get to other games, like you said, like the Virtual Boy games that they're re-releasing on Nintendo Online or whatever. That's just insane, guys. I mean, how are you going to play a Virtual Boy game on like a portable device or even on your TV screen? I mean, it's meant to be a 3D game with your eyes in the Virtual Boy. It just takes that whole aesthetic away. And when I heard about that, I mean, it just kind of irritated me. I'm like, okay, Nintendo's just out for another cash grab. I mean, they keep doing this. They keep bringing back these retro games, and I can understand because retro gaming really is a billion-dollar industry right now. I mean, just a few years back, 20 years ago, nobody was playing Virtual Boy. Nobody was really playing Atari games or Nintendo games, the old shit. But retro gaming definitely got into its own sector, into its own business world. And it's, like I said, become a billion-dollar industry. So all these companies are going to cash in on it now. So what they're doing is they're going back into their old game libraries and saying, hey, remember that game Kirby? Let's go ahead and make a remake of Kirby. Just update the graphics and make it into HD and put some bonus levels in where you gotta buy shit and this and that. And it's just kind of crazy how that's become the forefront nowadays. Um, but there are different games that I do like for instance, the original Tron that came out on the arcade. I mean, great game. Just a fucking great game. I love that game back in the arcade back in the day. Just how they had the neon and the stick, and you were just looking at the Tron city in the background as you're playing and stuff like that with the holographic stuff. I mean, it was just totally cool. And then fast forward to the PS3, and after the release of the Tron movie, they released the new Tron game on the PS3. God, I love that game, but it was so freaking. I've never even defeated that game, but just the graphics and the way it felt, and just all that cool stuff that came about it. But then, what did they do? They released a few other Tron games, and everyone after that was just complete shit. It's like that first one was great, but then everything after that was just complete crap, man. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my take on it. I just really think that the video game industry is just trying to cash in on that cash cow and make money off of these old games, whether they're, just trying to save a buck and just remastering the code to make them into HD or add some extra levels or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely a cash cow. What's your thoughts on that, Leland?
I mean, yeah, I agree that they've always been doing it. I mean, back in like the seventh generation console or whatever, like the 360, PS3, it was like HD remaster collections was the remakes, right? Essentially. And I had a whole whackload of them for the PS3, like God of War collection, Silent Hill collection, Sly Cooper collection. Like I ate them up. And I think I still do. Honestly, I don't mind these remakes. They're not. They don't seem as egregious to me as as I'm getting from you two. I just feel like at this point, these eras that we're talking about, like Moby talking about the PS2 era, like that's like in the realm of classical being considered classic music. The time frame, right? That like 25 years ago is now suddenly they're classic in now, just by how old they are. So I don't know if I get to either one, relive a game that I used to love, and hopefully, yes, they do it justice, and it's not just a crappy slap onto a high def disc and sold at $80 MSRP. Obviously, that can factor on my case by case basis, but I think overall I don't mind them. And like the true now I it's so funny, we're all every as all three of us have been started speaking about this, it's been like different delineations of like the type of remake, whether it's like a crappy like the an HD collection, or like what Capcom's doing with the Resident Evil full on remakes and Silent Hill 2 remake now. Like I'm thinking they're like a true remake is what I classify like RE2, RE3 make, RE4 make, Silent Hill 2 make. Those are like the true remakes that they put clearly a lot of effort into updating, polishing, trying to maybe fill in some gaps that are just kind of left over from the storytelling of the 90s kind of thing, and like they're great, and I have no problem paying full price for those games again, especially when it comes to Resident Evil 4. The amount of times that I've purchased that game throughout its history since its release, like, it's just astronomical. I've never bought There's no reason anyone else would buy any other type of game, any exact same game that number of times over and over and over again. It's absolutely ridiculous the amount of platforms that I've owned that game on. But I don't know. I don't care. I think they're great. And where they really benefit, obviously, is if you've never gotten to play some of those older titles that are revered. I mean, there's a reason that a title is selected to be remade, right? Popularity and, yes, cash grab, like Moby and you've been saying, RGX. Obviously those all factor into it. But like, if I get to experience a game that I was either too old for or just missed out, hell, I'll shell out if it looks good. I'll pay for it. I don't know. I'm kind of all for these, and I think it's because of this slew of true remakes, as I've titled them. I feel spoiled for remakes, and it's been a while since I've played a remake that hasn't hit real good for me. You know what I mean? So I think that my opinion is being heavily biased by the recent slew of very polished and effortful remakes.
You do bring up a couple good points there. First of all, as someone who's actually played, the Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 4 remakes and beaten them, those are quality titles. I'll give you that. I think where you and I may have a slight difference of opinion is like you said, you're like, yeah, suck them up, give them to me. I'll play them all. Whereas me, I'm starting to be like, okay, something new. And I think that just might be a matter of personality, to be honest. But the second point that you do bring up that I think is actually objectively good is, and this kind of goes to the core of this whole YouTube show about, Xennials and us becoming the older adult generations now with this whole other generation or two below us. I didn't even really consider that PS2 GameCube generation that I've mentioned, Xbox, the original, is now like considered like antique, right? Like, it's objectively over 25 years old. It's a quarter of a century old. And maybe it's a situation where someone like myself, I mean, I'm 40, but I don't feel old. I don't feel middle-aged, but yet I am. This time has passed. This technology has moved on. And, maybe I'm old man yelling at clouds, against these remakes, but, they are necessary. I mean, I know RGX has a Gen Z son. Maybe he looks at the original 2005 Resident Evil 4 and he's like, my goodness, this still looks, dated somehow. The textures are, maybe a little bit, muddled, and the colors are kind of washed out. I'm just trying to guess what someone would say about that type of game. But yeah, both of your guys' contributions were great. I think RGX's feels me a little bit more. But yeah, Leland, from my point of view, you did bring up a couple good points there.
I mean, yeah, of course I did. That's usually what I do. That's what I'm here for, is to provide the good points. Now, the other part of that, I think, is, I mean, we see Mostly remakes were made by like larger studios. So I was kind of thinking like, well, if a studio, like you say, hasn't brought out something that's unique, or maybe they have and it just hasn't hit, and they've been failed projects because of this era of recycling ideas that we are, we constantly see ourselves in with video games and movies, etc. um, if a remake could keep a studio profitable so they can continue to pursue some of these other more unique avenues, I think that's also potentially a benefit. But like I say, we see like you say, like Ubisoft and Sands of Time, like now canceling Sands of Time for whatever reason. I don't even know what went down with that, but I would love to play a Sands of Time remake because that's a fantastic game. But and then obviously Capcom with all of their remakes and stuff, like they're just like those publishers, they're not going to go under if they don't make remakes. So that point probably doesn't really hold much water. But I mean, it could be another potential upside, I guess.
Well, one thing I want to mention here, Moby had said that in his 40s he's not feeling old. Wait another 10 more years into your 50s, man, and you'll start feeling it. But I did want to bring up something else too. I know the Silent Hill remake was actually brought up, and I did end up playing a little bit of that game over at a friend's house, and I was truly amazed at how well the graphics looked in that game. Even the sound sounded just a lot more creepy and a lot more in depth. Just kind of pulled you into the scene and made it more eerie and more creepy than the original did. But at the same time, then I look back at the original and go home and I play that on the PlayStation, and I'm like, it's still the same game. It really hasn't changed that much. But as you guys were kind of alluding to as well, is, like for instance, my son is a Gen Zer, so his retro games would be the PS2 and the GameCube and Xbox generation. That's basically when he first was born, and that's kind of the first systems he played on. And then it kind of went on to the PS3, Xbox 360, and Wii, and that type of thing. So I always kind of say that a system is retro when it reaches either 3 generations or 25 years. And we're at that point now where the PS3 or the PS2 and all that is basically retro. PS3 is about to become retro because once they release the PS6, that's that 3 generation rule I have. And then I look back at it and like it's like, yeah, it's not retro for us, but it's retro for like my son's generation. So when he was growing up playing Red Dead Revolver, now if they make, the remake of that, then it's going to be so much better for him when he's playing that because he's like, oh God, I remember this, but man, it's just so much better. And it's kind of like that Pirates game I was kind of alluding to earlier as well. That honestly, playing it on the on the Commodore 64 and then playing it on the Xbox is two totally different worlds, but it's the same game. It still has the same principles, still has the same things that you have to do. So I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at too. So I kind of see where, Leland's coming from as well, but I still kind of, go along with Moby, just saying really it's a cash grab for these companies, and it's a way for them to continue making money off these titles they released 25, 30, 40 years ago. That honestly, if retro gaming wouldn't have came back into popularity like it has, people would have forgot about these games and these companies wouldn't have been making money off of them.
As you were talking, I was thinking of like the next 20 years. Do either of you think that currently the status or the number of these remakes is egregious enough or bloating the market enough where in 20 years there will be so much less unique and original things to be remade? Because are they just going to keep remaking the remakes? You know what I mean? Like the pool of where they can actually pull remakes from. How diluted do you think, Moby? We'll start with Moby. How diluted do you think the pool is actually becoming now because of all these? Is this another problem that you are scared that is going to ruin the foundations of the video gaming industry?
Yeah, what I think will happen, if I were to take a guess, and this is just a wild guess based off the technology, I would say that in 20 years, some sort of VR style system would be the norm, whether it's, some company makes say Nintendo, they make a system where on your floor you place down like a 6 foot by 6 foot pad or circle. It's got all these sensors, and you basically start to play the games by doing like the physical actions, you know, like holding a gun or something. We've got some precursors to that now. And my guess is something like that will happen. And then at that point, they will, whether they call them a remake or a VR remaster or a, I don't know, a saturation remaster for this new technology. Yeah, I think they are going to remake the remakes to do that. Did you fucking remake the remakes or something like that? You know, it's like, yeah, they're going to do something like that. I think at some point, like 20 years is a long time in the video game industry. I definitely think these big studios, if they're still around, yeah, they're going to use new technology as an excuse to remake once again these same games.
To what extent are you going to remake games? So obviously we know all the games that are great. So, you know, you got your Grand Theft Autos, you have your Red Dead Redemptions, you have even the classic games like the Mario games and the Sonic games and that kind of stuff. But when we get to the games that nobody really remembers, like, are they going to do a remake of Cheetah Man? I mean, would they do that for, I mean, just the crappy ass games back in the day? Like for instance, like Back to the Future, that game, that was completely horrible on the NES. I mean, would they even try to attempt to remake something like that? I mean, honestly, they're not going to do that because it's such a shitty game, they wouldn't make any money off of it. But the games of these franchises that have this big ass following and they've already made millions and billions of dollars, they're just going to keep recycling that and recycling it. And I do agree with what Moby's saying. I mean, in the future, I've even seen they have this program out right now and I can't remember what the hell it's called, but it's a really cool program where you put on, you know, your VR headset and you go in and you're in like a 1980s bedroom and you can set up whatever video game system you want to play. So you can have a Nintendo, Atari, Sega, whatever you want to play, you go up to it and you go up to a virtual CRT screen and you start playing it virtually inside of this virtual world. And honestly, I can kind of see somebody cashing in on that. That's kind of just like I could say a homebrew type of application, just somebody kind of made it out of, you know, a whim. But I could see somebody trying to buy that technology and turning it into something bigger, like Nintendo or hell, even Sega, if they wanted to get back into like that kind of thing, releasing that kind of game on, you know, the other systems, but you're still playing that Sega Genesis. You know what I mean? That would be kind of cool. But yeah, to me, like I said before, it's just to me, it's more of a cash grab than it is anything. I mean, we all like to reminisce about going back in the day and playing the games that we grew up with. And to me, I would rather, and you guys know me, I'm the old retro gamer guy. I would rather play these games on the old systems with the old controllers, you know, that type of thing, and have that same old feel. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I guess it is kind of cool to kind of revisit those games in the modern world with modern graphics and modern sound and all that. But I still prefer the old school. And I could be one of the few that are just like that. I mean, you know, some people they like to play the remakes and they're you know, that's just amazing to them. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm kind of at a toss up with this one because like I said, I've played some of the remakes like Pirates, Silent Hill, all that kind of stuff that are just amazing. But at the same time, I'm just sitting there thinking, boy, these companies are making money off these games once again that would have been sitting at some family-owned retro game store where somebody would have picked up these games and ended up playing them that way instead. So, yeah, I'm kind of tossed up, but like I said, once again, it's just a cash grab to me.
Well, you know, here at the Xennial Rewind, we are a YouTube channel. And what comes with YouTube channels are clicking the likes, the bells, the subscribes. So go ahead and do all that. But if you do, we have a special thing for you. We hit our secret milestone objective that we will not disclose. Oh no. But if we hit it, we will be remaking our very first episode of the Xennial Rewind straight to you, to the unwashed masses. Complete cash grab, fully admit it, but help us hit our goal and we'll remake whatever episode you want us to remake.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. But that's gonna bring us to our second segment today, guys. And what that's gonna be is about basically the remakes of movies and the sequels of movies. Now, this is kind of sore subject to me more than video games because I have seen just a slew of movies coming out that are it's like nobody can come out with anything original anymore. It's like I'm surprised we don't see another, Jaws movie coming out. I mean, hell, we saw a Rocky movie come out. I mean, why not a Jaws movie? Let's make Jaws 10 or something in ultra freaking virtual reality 3D or something. But that is definitely a sore subject for me. Now, one of the franchises that really kind of irked me, and this was a few years ago, back in 2010. I am a huge fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Freddy Krueger, all that kind of stuff. I mean, as a kid, the original is still probably the best movie. I mean, it's a little corny if you watch it nowadays, but I still see it as being the best movie. Just the special effects and the blood and just all the stuff that was just so revolutionary back in the day. Freddy Krueger, the first time you actually saw him, he was just so dark and so evil. He wasn't even funny in that movie per se. Now, of course, in the other movies, they made him more of like a comedy thing, but in that original movie, my God, he was just so freaking scary. And I remember as a kid not being able to sleep for like a week after watching that movie. My parents were like, "You're never watching another horror movie again." It was freaking funny, but um now we fast forward, to 2010, and the new Nightmare on Elm Street comes out, and now Freddy Krueger is a child killer, but in this one, he was also a
Guess who?
I think what ended up that's what killed the movie because everybody, even though there was that kind of thing, back in the 80s, people kind of talked about it as like, okay, he was a child killer. What was he doing with these kids? I mean, was he just going out and killing these kids or was he doing other things? But it never really came up. And Freddy became kind of this funny thing, you know what I mean, as far as the other movies where it was more of a comedy thing. Um, and I think when they brought him back and it basically changed his face, everything, and the whole story as far as him being
Guess who?
that kind of killed it. And people that love that franchise were like, dude, Freddy was not
Guess who?
he just wasn't. And I think that just kind of killed the movie. And then just the whole story and just everything that went on in that movie, the special effects, everything was just so bad, just so bad. And I mean, that's kind of the first movie that comes to mind, or this first franchise that comes to mind for me. Now, another one would be Tron. Now, when they released Tron back in the 80s, oh my God, I remember when Tron came out. I was a kid when it came out. And I remember going and seeing it because it was a Disney movie. And when we saw it in the theater, just the special effects that they had produced, I mean, they didn't have CGI back then. So all that was actually still hand drawn. A little bit of computer stuff here and there, but not like nowadays. And just what they did with that movie was amazing. And then fast forward again, a few years. And what was it when that Tron movie came out? It was about 2010-ish or so. I can't remember, when it did come out. But that was a great movie too. I mean, it kind of told the story again about, the Flynn arcade and what ended up happening and his son and this and that. And it just kind of evolved into another, I can't say another franchise, but another a story on top of the original story. And it was a great movie. Now, some people didn't like it, but I liked it. And a lot of Tron fans liked it. But then what do? They go and release another Tron movie and it just tanks. It's just one of those things that, they keep trying to cash in on a franchise till they eventually kill it off. And I've seen that with like the Marvel movies and the superhero movies. Now, don't get me wrong. I love superhero movies. I love them. I love them. I love them. But I mean, how many Batmans can you have? I mean, it's like Jesus Christ. We've been dealing with Batman ever since 1989 when they released the one, that original one, and it's like how many more Batmans can we do? How many Jokers can we have that are different Jokers in the way they are? I mean, it's just kind of crazy how that is. And to me, it's like they're killing off that franchise too, as far as the superhero things, because I can't tell you the last time I actually went out to a movie theater and watched one of these. Now, when they come up on Netflix or something like that, yeah, I'll watch them then. But I'm not going to go spend money to go watch one of these movies that's basically going to be the same shit. We got the bad guy versus the good guy, and of course the good guys always win. You know, it's the same story but told differently in every movie. So what's your guys' thoughts about movies? And go ahead and share what movies that you think are either good or bad remakes.
I want to hop on the Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite horror franchise, next to Friday the 13th. And you're right, the remake sucked. I don't know. So what they wanted to do with the remake is they wanted, obviously, like you said, the original Nightmare was not campy Freddy, not quippy Freddy. It was supposed to be scary and creepy, and they obviously wanted to go back to that. And I think throwing in the
Guess who?
of Freddy's background was their attempt to try to make it darker. We were in that era of, I mean, it was like a year after the Friday the 13th reboot that came out, which was also not very good. Um, so that we were in that era of like, okay, everything's got to be dark, everything, all this gritty shit, and it didn't hit. I mean, and yeah, you're right. The effects, like, they CGI did the Freddy pushing through the wall, which they CGI'd a practical effect that they did in the original film that looked fantastic, done practically, and it looked fucking awful. And honestly, they would have, I think, been way more successful if they found somebody that could have just been Campy Freddy in the remake. I think that would have done a lot better for them, although they still would have had to contend with Robert Englund's performance, which just honestly, as Freddy, like, can't be topped as Freddy Krueger. Like, he is a horror icon for a reason. To this day, right? You say his name and everybody knows who he is, even if you've never seen this franchise. And I'm always excited to see him pop up in, random media. I mean, he was in season 4 of Stranger Things, for Pete's sakes. Like, it's great, a little bit part, a little cameo part, but like, it's awesome to see him in places. And I don't think Jackie Earle Haley was terrible as Freddy. He just did what they wanted him to do as Freddy, and it was just, I don't know, it was weird. Like, even just the way he spoke was like, I'm Freddy Krueger. It was all like gravelly, and again, like this gritty shit. It was just, oh, it was bad. And then Tron Ares, Tron Ares is almost a competent film. Almost. I recently watched this. It's now on Disney Plus. It's on streaming now, so you can watch it on Disney Plus if you have it. But there is, you saw the continuation within the franchise, and it makes sense that somebody would want to utilize the mainframe, or whatever the hell you call it, the other world, and make it physicalize in our, like, that makes a lot of fucking sense for the progression of this lore and this mythos of Tron. But it's just like, you could tell in the writing was just, let's slap together let's just put a script together. We have this basic structure of an idea. Let's just hang enough pieces on it that you can almost not see the framework, and flush it in. It just wasn't flushed enough. They didn't do it enough. Oh man, I don't know. And as far as superhero fatigue, if you are tired of the normal Marvel shtick schlock that has been coming out, I will say a lot of their recent projects have been pretty good. But the most recent project, which isn't a movie, but is a TV series, Wonder Man, is phenomenal. It is their best TV Marvel series that they put out on Disney Plus. It is fantastic. It is basically a buddy comedy. They bring back Ben Kingsley reprising his role as Travis Slattery from Iron Man 3. He played like the fake Mandarin in Iron Man 3. Ben Kingsley he makes this series like, it's such a great show. Honestly, go watch it. You don't have to give a fuck about it, superhero, anything. This is just a good TV series telling a fun and interesting story about these two people. It literally, all the superhero stuff is tangential to what they're telling, which is what they should be doing within that universe, is telling us stories about people. We don't, that yes, the people are the heroes, but they don't need to be heroic in those stories. It literally delivers what so many people have been asking for from Marvel for, since Endgame, basically. So good. So good. I really do hate all the movie remakes and adaptations and sequels, because, like you say, RGX, they're usually just garbage. I mean, everyone usually, the golden rule is the sequel never holds up to the original. I mean, obviously there's exceptions to every rule, but I will say I was very surprised at the trailer for Masters of the Universe, which comes out June of this year. The trailer looks really good. The trailer looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
The only downside is that fucking Jared Leto is playing Skeletor. No. I don't know. I don't have any immediate gripes, but I can jump on every bandwagon hate train that you want to hop on. I'll probably hop on it right with you.
So if you're watching this right now, just a tiny bit of context, Leland hates Jared Leto. He kind of just spoke out against him. He didn't speak out against him enough in his little Tron Erie spiel. I thought that would have torpedoed the whole movie for him, no matter what. But from my perspective, I'm going to do what I do, like with my monologues, and I'm going to keep it all negative, which is all the notes I have for this segment. I've really got 3 points about areas where sequels or remakes piss me off. Number one is, you can call it political interference, self-censorship might be better. Probably the most salient example is the Red Dawn remake from 2012. Anyone who doesn't know that story, originally it was going to be like the Chinese invading with Russian support. The original 1984 movie, trivia, the first PG-13 movie ever made, because they were like, oh, it's too violent to be PG, but it's not an R. But yeah, anyways, they got so worried, the studio, about China getting mad at them for having a fantasy movie about the Chinese invading America, that they had to spend so much money to like CGI out from the uniforms and whatnot, and the tanks, all the Chinese flags and logos, and they made them like North Korean. And I mean, it wasn't a great movie, but I think they really sabotaged their ability to profit off it just by self-censorship there. And the self-censorship, like, I'm not trying to harp on the Chinese, but I mean, they fund a lot of Hollywood movies and they have expectations. And the expectations is usually China has to have a minor subplot of like helping humanity and being beneficial to all. And they also tend to shoehorn in like a Chinese actor with broken English as like a bit role that, like, you can just tell it's a worthless role. You see that in the Independence Day Resurgence movie, the sequel to ID4, where there's like a Chinese fighter pilot and she's kind of there, but she's like, they make her out to be like she's the most perfect, like, Mary Sue pilot that ever could be. And then plus the Chinese government has like a moon base where they hold off the aliens. They're like, yeah, Americans, you panic on Earth and do what you need to do. China will hold off the entire galaxy of aliens from the moon. It's like, you kind of roll your eyes at subplots like that. So that's point number one that I have. There's many other movies, from the turn of the millennial onward that there was that kind of, interference. You could look at, Top Gun 2, where China partially funded it and wanted, Maverick to not have a flag of Taiwan on his leather jacket like he had originally. And Backlash ended up keeping that in, but they were going to remove it. It's just, that stuff really bothers me. Number two is, and this is very specific, I just really don't like those Disney live action remakes where they take classics like Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Jungle Book. I've seen them all. They are all inferior. To use one of Leland's favorite terms that he does not say enough on the show because it's entertaining, unnecessary remakes. The CGI really doesn't hold up, where the original animation is like classic Disney Renaissance animation. You can't top that for 2D stuff. And Like, I'm sorry, just the CGI, it just doesn't hold up as well, and the more realistic characters just lose their charm. So that's very specific. The third, and to be honest, I wish I could have more examples of this. This is the one point I probably should have done a little bit more research, but when I say you're going to know what's happening, is where a sequel feels like it has to go completely 180 degrees from what the original was and like subvert expectations. You know, whether you liked it or not, I think the most common example of that came out the last 15 years or so was, you know, the Last Jedi. You know, where it's like Rian Johnson comes in. It's like we have to subvert everyone's expectations of who Luke Skywalker is and stuff like that. I mean, it bugs me that you would purposefully just be like, this needs to be different for the sake of being different. Like, I don't like when a movie when a sequel is just a soft reboot and doesn't offer anything new. But I also don't like the other extreme where you change something, you know, just because you want to change it, you know, for shits and giggles. So that bothers me. Those are all my points, basically, those three. Everyone's kind of on this section here, gone on a long rant, which I like, about what they don't like about these sequels and remakes. And those 3 points are what I got.
So while you guys were talking, I was kind of thinking, so you had brought up Red Dawn. And yeah, I remember, once again, I'm an old ass fart, but I remember when Red Dawn came out and it came out in the movie theaters, and my parents were like, well, this movie is not PG. It's this new thing called PG-13, and it's got all this violence in it. And I remember watching the movie because we went anyway. But I remember watching the movie and it was like, it wasn't all that bad. But the reason it became PG-13 is because it is one of the movies that had the most shootings and blood and violence, and I think it had a body count more than what, like, Rambo or something else. It's like one of the movies with the most body count in it, I guess is what you would call it. But really kind of cool to see Red Dawn come up in the conversation, because God, I love that movie. Not only because of it showed what America was back then, at least, as far as us trying to defend ourselves and what we could do, but the fact that it took place right here in my state of Colorado, and we took out the Ruskies with just teenagers. It was like, hell yeah, let's do it, man. You know, it was great. It was great. But another franchise that I did want to bring up that kind of disappointed me was the Transformers franchise when they brought that back with Michael Bay and the what I would call the Bayformers. Now, originally, when they released the very first one, what was it, like in 2007 or so? God, I loved that movie. I did. I really did love the movie. But I hated the fact, like you had alluded to, Moby, is that they changed the whole fucking story. From what I grew up watching Transformers and the G1 cartoon compared to this, and then there was the Cube. What the fuck is the Cube, man? I'm like, you know, what the hell is this? I mean, they kept a lot of the same stuff. Like, yeah, they were from Cybertron. They came to Earth to try to, you know, do this and that. But they just changed the whole premise of it. But, you know, I kind of went along with it. I was like, okay. And then what did they do? Release more and more and more and more Transformers movies. And it was like, okay, I watched the first three, I think, in the movie theater, and then after that, I waited till they came out on video because it was like, I'm not gonna waste my money watching this shit anymore. And then they changed freaking directors, so they went from Michael Bay to I forgot who does it now, but I mean, a little bit better as far as not all that crazy special effects crap and CGI that they had during the Michael Bay period, but at the same time, it seems like the stories have gotten kind of yeah, you know. So, and I'm a huge Transformer fan. I'm pretty sure you guys know that. And just to see what they've done with the franchise and try to drag it down, well, I don't think they tried to drag it down. They tried to bring it to a new generation. But at the same time, for us old farts that grew up with Transformers, we're just sitting there scratching our heads like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, you know, it's just crazy. But I'm really, really hoping that somebody will pick up the idea and bring back Transformers in a movie form, because I would love to see another Transformers movie, but in the Gen 1 universe, where they look just like Optimus Prime in Gen 1 when he transforms from the flat nose freaking Kenworth, truck, that kind of thing. You want to see Jazz as a Porsche, that kind of thing. Um, I think that would be really cool, and have the robot forms as the same as they were kind of like in the Gen 1 um, videos. I just think it would be so much better for us older farts to basically relate to, and then take the story from the actual Gen 1, where they came from Cybertron. They were in the middle of a battle. They got shot. They crash landed on Earth. A millennial later, Teletran 1 woke up and started this drone to see what they would change into, and then started revitalizing them. And then the whole war started back out on Earth, and it involved a human, all that kind of stuff. That would have been great to do instead of having these freaking comments coming down. Oh, these are Transformers coming down. Oh, what are they? They're comments. It's just, I don't know. But, what's your guys' thoughts on like the Transformers franchise?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment here, and then I'll pass it over to Leland. There is, in my opinion, one excellent Transformers movie. Don't forget about Bumblebee, in which Michael Bay only produced. That has a battle at the beginning in Cybertron, which is amazing. It does actually have, at the very end, a cameo of Optimus Prime with his classic, early 1980s Mack truck going. And it's that classic, like, it's a girl in her car with Bumblebee, and like that kind of human alien machine combo, to me, watching the original series back in the day, was kind of the heart of Transformers. The beautiful Haley Steinfeld stars, married to Josh Allen, the best quarterback to never get close to a Super Bowl. But God bless them. They're going to have a kid pretty quick, but she's great in that. So yeah, please don't discount Bumblebee. Give it a watch if you didn't like the Michael Bay movies. But I'll pass it over to Leland.
I mean, I'm a Beast Wars guy. This Gen 1 stuff was again a little before me, but I love the Beast Wars stuff. And as far as the Transformers movies, like it's just like summer blockbuster shit, right? You go for a action film that, again, me not having a tie to these specific Transformers, have no expectations for, really. But when when a franchise is long enough running where your entire, like, your, I mean, in this case, the human cast is completely recast in, halfway through your franchise, like, it's becoming a little long in the tooth. I think that's probably a good sign of like, maybe we should rethink stuff. And I think Bumblebee, I agree, I like Bumblebee quite a bit. And it's just like, when you already have, so they already have their franchise established, how easy, I mean, it seems very easy for them to do more films like Bumblebee, these little one shot, like, vignette films within the universe that don't necessarily have to impact what, the 15 movies that came before it. They can tell their own centralized, localized story and just blow you away with their characters and the character interactions. I mean, you want to, now they're, the easiest thing is to have another 80s period piece Transformers film where, yes, like you see them with their original, their original depictions and all their original, like, 80s vehicles and stuff. Like, how easy would that be for them to do? It seems like a no-brainer for them to do at this point.
The Bumblebee movie was great. I'm gonna say that. I did forget about that one. Definitely was a great movie. Um, but I did want to bring up another one that was really good. Was the animated movie that they just did, where it was the story beforehand. God, I forgot the name of. You would think I would remember the names of these movies, but where they talked about the story of Megatron and Optimus Prime, where they grew up and all that kind of stuff. That was such a great movie because it told that story that even us old farts that grew up with the Generation 1, I mean, we kind of knew what the story was, but they kind of left us in the dark of, how they grew up as friends and they were almost like brothers, that type of thing. We saw it once they were already in war on Cybertron, that kind of thing, where they were enemies. But we didn't see the beforehand story. And it was kind of cool seeing that. I really did enjoy seeing that side of it. But I do got one thing. I've got a multi-billion-dollar movie franchise right here in my head that I'm going to come up with. Let's go ahead and make the GoBots movie. Remember GoBots? the wannabe Transformers from the 1980s. And the funny thing is, GoBots actually came out before Transformers, but Transformers became a hell of a lot more popular. So it's just that whole marketing thing is with the cartoons and all that. They just did a way better job. Um, but yeah, I think that'll kind of bring us to the end of the show here, guys. I mean, it was a definitely good discussion. All these movies and video games and all the remakes that are out there. I mean, I'm not trying to say don't make remakes or sequels anymore, but at the same time, let's do them a little bit more carefully. A little bit, let's put a little bit more thought into the stories and into the storylines and the characters and that kind of thing. And if it is a remake, as far as remaking a movie, let's go ahead and try to keep it as original as the original is, but with a little bit of differences. Obviously with uh, storylines and graphics and that kind of thing, CGI within movies, all that type of thing. That's what I kind of wish would happen. I wish they would do their research and things like that before, because to me it seems like they're just putting out these video games and these movies, like I said, just to make a buck. Oh, this franchise is really popular. Let's go ahead and make a few $1 million off of this franchise right now. That's kind of my thoughts. So, any final thoughts from you guys?
From my point of view, I think it's been a great discussion. I agree with you. I've got everything off my chest. Your guys' points were clear and well made.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's about kind of hitting that sweet spot, right? Like you still have to cater to the existing fan base, but obviously to be successful, you need to pull in a new section of fans. So it obviously makes sense that it makes sense why remakes are appealing and obviously and sequels are appealing because they're just playing on an already existing fan base. Obviously, less of a risk than trying to garner an entirely new fan base. So it completely makes sense. But as far as fan bases go, over here at the Xennial Rewind, we love each and every one of you, all your comments, all of your likes, all of your subscribes. Incredibly appreciated by the three of us. Well, maybe the two of us. Moby generally dislikes most of you out there. But RGX and I love you. So on our behalf, please just give us that, click that button, ding our dongs, all the usual stuff.
I could see the disappointment on Moby's face there. Moby loves us all too.
In my goodbye here, I will say that Leland is slightly exaggerating. I have had some colorful comments directed at my way so far in the show. People are, I would say, I appreciate your passion for some of the monologues that I brought up. It keeps me inspired to try to think of other things that are going to piss you off on your Saturday mornings. So with that, I'll give you my salute and say thanks for watching.
All right, guys. And once again, I just wanted to thank all our viewers and our subscribers. And I just wanted to thank each and every one of you guys once again. And thanks for watching the Xennial Rewind. I've been Retrogamer Gen X.
And I've been Moby.
And I'm Leland Steele.
You guys have a great one. Peace out.